Hi, my name is Mary Stern, and I'm a physiotherapist. I have just written a book called The Emboldened Patient that is now available on Amazon. There'll be a link below. But you can also Google The Emboldened Patient and Mary Stern. I'm not sure it shows up in the algorithms yet, but I'd love for you to read it. It was important for me to write it because I have patients who too often don't feel like they have a choice. So maybe they're not comfortable with their healthcare providers, or maybe they feel like they needed to ask questions that couldn't be answered, or they needed reports that they couldn't receive, and there's this feeling of dissatisfaction and lack of agency. Like you kind of have to settle for what you're getting. And when it comes to your body, when it comes to your family's health, and something so important and also something so vulnerable, I think we can do so much better. And I think the approach of this book is really to speak to patients and asking myself as a patient, because I'm a patient as well as a healthcare provider, and other patients to really take charge, because that is ultimately, when you go to school as a healthcare professional, we always talk about self-management, patient-centered care. And so there is, within the scope or within the realm of healthcare, an understanding that really it is about the patient, and they have the right and they have the ability to manage their care. But the question is, do you have the tools? So this book is about finding the tools. So I've divided into 5 pillars of the emboldened patient. So I'm gonna read and list them here. I know them, but I need a little bit of notes. So the first one is to expect shared decision making. So this one is about informed consent and knowing that you are a part of that decision making. Have the courage to ask. So sometimes there are requests that you want to make, questions that you have, and having the courage to ask is so important. Also, the other flip side of that is the third pillar, which is give your healthcare providers license to not know it all. People are not all knowing, working with the information, the best evidence that they have at the time. So to have that open dialogue, have an understanding that you're at the working table together, and that the healthcare professional is a consultant and doesn't know everything, but can give you their own scope and breadth of knowledge. And pillar 4 is recognize that there is bias and discrimination. So you as a patient will have some bias of what kind of treatment that you like, or how you like to work with your provider, and sharing that is so important. And then as healthcare providers, it's really important for us to recognize and communicate our treatment bias. So, if I prefer to work with clinical Pilates, and I may be biased against doing any manipulations on a body, then to share that that's my bias, not that that person can't otherwise, if that's what they're seeking, find it elsewhere. That's an empowering and facilitating thing, by sharing what it is my bias is as their treatment provider. But and then the other side of that, and maybe they shouldn't even be grouped together, is discrimination. And we get into a little bit of array of topics that we don't have time for in this little intro. And this is where we need to step up as healthcare providers. Discrimination is it's a non-starter. It's just not acceptable, and we need to be self-reflective and intuitive as healthcare providers to prevent it. And the last one is this idea of expecting and respecting empathy, but not sympathy. So this idea of being empowered as a patient is that we don't want people to feel sorry for us. We don't want people to sort of not buy into, but engage in the idea that we don't have the power to change and to heal. But the empathy is so crucial, that that provider in that moment, who is your consultant, who is sometimes your lifeline, is listening to you with understanding, with respect and patience, and really being that mirror for not your weakness, but your strength, is huge. So those are the 5 pillars. Again, 1 is expect shared decision making. 2 is have the courage to ask. 3, give license to not know it all. 4, recognize bias and discrimination. And 5 is to expect and respect empathy and not sympathy. I'm going to make a couple other videos just to introduce the book, but thank you for listening, and I hope that you like it. I hope that you can pass it on to someone else that really feels like they need some support and some affirmation of some of the thoughts that they're already feeling about what they want for their healthcare or their loved ones. Thank you.